see up on the screen in just a few seconds' time, we have so many toys in front of us. I'm very excited.
It's like Christmas.
It is. I've been doing tech journalism for like 8 years, and I never get bored of seeing toys. It's great.
I get to keep these after, right?
I think I do.
I think actually I'm taking all of them.
Okay, I'll fight you all. It's fine. So where do you want to start? I mean, what's the best one? What's the most interesting one?
Okay, well, are we going to start with the best, or are we going to save the best for last?
The best.
Oh, I
What
don't
is
know.
the best?
I think that
Let's
some
identify
of
the
this,
best. Identify the best.
some of this
One,
is a matter
okay.
of opinion.
1, 2, 3, go. Oh.
What? What?
Okay, so I went for the Samsung Galaxy Note 9.
Wait, you went for a phone. I thought...
No. It's like on the table.
Oh, I see.
Do you want to do it again?
I'm thinking watches.
No.
Okay.
It was a free-for-all. You failed. Okay, let's start with the watches. Let's start with... What one, where do you want to start? You guys are the guests. You start where you want to start.
Let's start in the middle with Apple Watch because it's the newest.
Okay.
It's the
And
most
probably-
popular as well.
It's the most popular. People know what it is.
So I have never owned an Apple Watch. I've never even put one on my wrist. I'm so intrigued by them.
Well, today is your lucky day
Yay.
because
Okay.
we have a rose gold one, I think.
Look
We
how
do.
beautiful that packaging is.
Oh, no.
It is really pretty. This
mean,
is
that's
the
what you
fun
pay
part of an
£400 for.
unboxing.
Yeah. So that is worth bearing in mind. This is £400.
Ooh.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It's the most expensive watch on the table.
Okay.
You're about to see, I think you're paying for a little bit of this packaging when you
Ooh.
buy it.
Would you like to do the honors
I would, yes, I
This
would
is
love to do the honors.
sexy bit.
This,
It looks like a biscuit.
everybody who buys this is charmed by this little envelope that it comes in.
Oh, that's really satisfying to watch.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's very pretty.
Okay.
So pretty.
So
So
pretty.
pretty.
The rose gold, it's a little bit of an acquired taste, but there's been some commentary on whether this is a girly color. I actually know a lot of dudes
Same.
sporting the rose gold.
I
Yeah.
like it.
I think sometimes people get them because it's available in stock. So, if you want just the plain black one, it's like, no, that's not in stock. Okay, so we have a few different parts of the packaging. So we have the little watch itself, which is the bit with all the technology.
Yes.
And then separate packaging again that is
Strap.
These
the straps.
And you can buy very expensive
It
straps.
can go
for
into
this.
thousands of pounds.
Right.
It's crazy.
This is your straight up rose colored strap.
And what's the material of it? It's kind of
like a-
rubbery?
It's rubbery.
Silicon,
Okay.
neoprene, I don't know.
It comes with two different lengths
Yes.
so that if you have a larger wrist, it will fit.
Uh-huh.
And then you simply slide them in.
If you move your hand a little bit, we can
See it better.
see it better.
Again, very satisfying to watch.
Very
This is why
satisfying.
people like unboxings. It's because it's that sort of, not only do you get to see your first reactions to something, obviously you get to see how it sets up. That's nice.
It's very nice.
I actually have a fossil watch. I'm not sure what people prefer.
Okay, so we can see straight away there are differences.
If you move a little
What
bit.
is your take on the smartwatches that look like smartwatches versus the smartwatches that look like normal watches?
Are you talking about square versus round?
Or even, like that just looks like a normal watch from a distance. And I know you can get straps that will make this look different, but
I think that people are getting used to the square watches. When Apple first announced Apple Watch, there was a lot of groaning and moaning about the square face. But the reality of the square is that you can fit more in here. These little features on the screen are called complications, which I love.
I love
that
that.
word. You can see more complications here in the square watch. And as more and more people are wearing these,
yeah.
people get used to that squareness.
They've got a lot nicer as well. This is the new season 4, series 4, and
He's watched all the episodes.
I binged it. And it's got a bigger screen, faster processor. It has sort of NFC and GPS built in. It is very nice, but I don't know if I do prefer a round face. Should we get a public vote of round versus square?
Yeah, okay,
that's a good
so
idea.
let's do a quick show of hands, shall we? So who is in favor of the square face?
Squares.
Okay, and then round face,
It's about half and half.
and then couldn't care less.
Came to the wrong show.
I knew there was going to be a few of you. I knew, I threw it in there. Okay, so there is a difference. And again, looking at them side by side, these are two premium high-end devices. I reviewed the Galaxy Watch on my show, and I have to say, it just feels so cumbersome on the wrist.
We had a little talk about the size of this in rehearsal.
It's huge.
It's huge. I think the Galaxy Watch comes in 2 sizes. This is the larger of the 2.
Correct.
Okay.
But
I like a bulkier watch.
I like it too.
But it totally, like, it took up my entire wrist, and when I was typing, my hand was falling off the table. It's so heavy.
Oh no.
I know. I'm really weak. But I do think it's very cumbersome for what it is.
It is.
No, I don't go to the gym. Can you not tell? I don't know. I just think it's a lot of real estate on your wrist for what it is.
It's a statement. So
Okay.
you have to really like the way it looks. This watch comes in a number of different formats, including also a rose gold one.
What's
that
it?
is
Sorry, please.
very rosy. I think that if you like the way it looks, it's okay for it to be large. But the other big thing about the largeness is that it makes more room for the battery, and the battery lasts much longer in the big one.
Okay.
It's true.
And
Something
battery
to
is
know.
something I'm intrigued by, because we all know there's no point in having these fancy devices if you have to. Like, the reason I don't wear a wearable is because it was another charger that I needed to have in my life, and I just think life is too short.
Well, that is a good segue
Okay.
to this one.
Check me out,
Do you,
segue.
think,
that segue.
do you think anyone would know if I swapped this out and then stole the Apple Watch?
I
The
mean,
producers of this
They look
segment
so
may
similar.
know.
So
They do.
this is the Fitbit Versa. So we've got the Galaxy Gear Watch, the Fitbit Versa, Apple Watch Series 4.
okay.
Should we put them in like 4 or 5 day
Cheapest.
battery,
Yes.
2-3 day battery, a day and a half?
Exactly. And also, you can also, this is interesting, line them up along the same lines with price.
Yes.
Cheapest
Yeah.
to most expensive. Longest battery to shortest battery.
So are we once again just paying for that little Apple logo on the box?
Of course.
Yes, and you're also paying for the integration with iOS and for all of the things that it does with your iPhone if you own an iPhone. If you don't own an iPhone, don't get this.
Yeah.
Well, you can pair that with an Android phone, but it's very limited functionality. But at the same time, as I say, it's £400. It's like twice the price of the Versa. This is $280 for the Galaxy Gear.
The Versa you could charge once or twice a week and sleep with it. So all the sleep tracking is real and actually very useful. One of the big complaints about Apple Watch is that the sleep tracking, while it exists, if with third-party apps,
Yeah.
isn't great because you have to charge it at
You
night.
can measure your heart rate with this. Not just your heart rate, but like you can get an ECG
Yeah.
from this.
But again, those things on smartwatches scare me because I just don't think we need to know that information. I don't want to know if I have a really unhealthy heart for a 29-year-old. Just leave me alone. I don't need that in my life.
This may be the thinking of a 29-year-old.
Okay.
You may change your mind when you get older than 29, like I am.
Okay.
I think this pink strap really suits me.
It does. It goes with the orange speaker badge. Okay, so let's just see. Can we try and see some of this in action? Again, I like the interface. I like how you interact with it. It's very intuitive, I think.
What's the easiest way of showing
I don't know if you you can see it there now, yeah. So it's the similar kind of gestures as you would have on an iPhone or an iPad.
I mean, it is very nice, but it's a full smartwatch like this. The Fitbit Versa and also some of these other ones we have are kind of more, not necessarily hybrids, but they're fitness trackers with a bit of smart.
They're in-betweenies, I think it's a technical term.
In-betweenies is the great technical term.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just judge them firstly. So we spoke about how they look. We spoke about the price. We spoke about battery life. I don't know that they're all aimed at the same
They're different.
consumer.
They're different. The Fitbit Versa is really for people who are interested in fitness primarily.
Yeah.
If you're buying a watch to be your fitness buddy, that's all you care about, then do this. If you want to dictate email,
Yeah.
or send texts
Yes,
on
which
your watch,
everyone does through their watch.
it's a little odd sometimes.
I just use Spotify, Nike running app. I get YouTube comments sometimes, so I'm using this Fossil Explorers watch, and I get YouTube on the Tech Chap YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. I get comments come up, and sometimes you get really horrible comments, like everyone does. And so I was at a train station the other day, and it popped up YouTube comment, "F you, Tom." I was
It's
like,
not really the thing you want on your wrist.
"Thank you very much." That's just
I think that's called too much information.
yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk. That's actually a good reason to talk about this guy, the Matrix Powerwatch.
I've not actually
I
heard of
haven't
this
heard
before.
of this either.
So this, talk about huge. Look
my
at
gosh.
this monster.
It's like a JCB or something. It's huge.
It looks like the old Casio G-Shock watches. You remember those?
It's
How heavy is
Beast.
this?
So this,
not that heavy.
This watch is powered
That's not too bad.
entirely by
So you
human
hold it.
movement.
So you can see it there. Let's lie it down beside
So
the
this
other
is very much a kind of smart watch.
It's a teeny bit smart. It's
Yes, like me.
It gives you, I think it gives you notifications, step counts,
Okay.
and the time.
I don't even know how to. Oh, it's
For
just
that
dark.
size?
But you never have to charge it because it's charged by your body.
Okay, I like that. I'm intrigued by that. And I could see the justification for the size, although I would never wear it, ever.
It
Can I look at
seems
this?
like a little bit of a proof of concept.
Yeah, which I like. And I think we have to have these things so that we can get next generation, which will be better again. So I think that's a good trait to have, right?
Sure.
Can I ask a larger question?
Yes.
Do we need smartwatches?
So,
Are they going to go away?
what do you think? You're the tech guy.
Tech Chap.
Whatever.
I like them. I don't think anyone needs them. I think they're nice to haves. It's kind of like VR. It's when people think, oh, they're going to go away, but they're not going away, and they keep getting better. And with a new processor that's coming out, a new Qualcomm 3100 for these smartwatches, which will significantly improve battery life and performance. I think they're going to be here to stay. I don't think anyone needs them.
I don't think you need them yet unless you're a person who works with your hands a lot.
Yeah.
I know people like doctors
True.
who love having these because they're busy with their hands all day long. If you are in a profession or you do something that requires your hands to be busy, it can be really convenient for specific people.
That's true.
I think as time goes on, though, and as we have more functionality in them, I would love not to have my big bulky phone in my back pocket. If I can do all of that just from my wrist, and the payments and all that kind of stuff, as that becomes more mainstream, I think there will be more use cases.
Do you want to be one of those people who gets on the underground with their watch?
Well, you see, I'm the person at the moment, 3 times this week I've left my debit card behind, and I'm in a bank that doesn't have Apple Pay or Google Pay, so then I can't have lunch. So if I can have a watch.
I use it. I'm not embarrassed, but I live in the Bay Area, and we are never embarrassed by doing nerdy things. It's a
You
badge.
get away with it.
We get away with it. We are encouraged to be completely nerdy. But here's the interesting thing. I know somebody who started tracking her sleep because she was not sleeping very well, and she was using something like this to track her sleep, and became really obsessed with fine-tuning her sleep
Yep.
and setting the right sleep time, and then in fact became so worried about it that she developed terrible insomnia. So there is such a thing as too much information. She was actually freaked out by knowing too much about how her sleep was going.
I am that person. I am 100% that person. And I don't think that we need to know things like our heart rate and so on, unless you're training for a marathon or you understand what the information means. I do think it can be a case of data overload. What I'm intrigued by, though, I love that you're still playing around. So we were going to try and do a heart rate.
I'm going to try.
We'll try and do this, and you can see it. And again, the Slido details are up somewhere. So if you do have questions or comments, you can put them into us, and we will put them to the guys. Do you think that
84. Am I nervous? Maybe I am. That's quite high.
at least you're still alive, though?
You just had a coffee
I did. That was
right backstage.
That's true.
I found, though, in terms of the accuracy when it comes to the step count, so I was so proud because I was doing my 10,000 a day. And then one day, a few years ago, when I started reviewing them, I realized that when I was blow drying my hair, it was counting as steps. Because it's like any form of movement. It's basically what it was counting. So can we really trust these devices if we are going to, hang our health on them?
I think it's directional. I mean, if you're really worried about the difference between, you're going to add another 50 steps drying your hair, or, I don't know, shaking cocktails.
Yeah.
That's how
Yes.
I add my steps.
That's
You
exactly
clearly
it.
live a much more exciting life than I do. Mine is just drying my
When
hair.
I'm shaking cocktails. But you think of what the big data can be used
Yeah.
for. I mean, these can also be applied to patients for healthcare. If you get continual, even if it's within 10-20%, but continual monitoring of people's heart rate, blood pressure, ECG, all that good stuff, and then doctors can get that straight into their systems over periods of time, not just a checkup twice a week.
Yeah.
That kind of big data for medical reasons and also fitness tracking could be huge. And
It's going to transform healthcare, and I'm from Ireland, and we're seeing a lot of that in our health service at the moment. We have a whole host, because Ireland is such a thriving hub of technology and startups, and so we have companies now that are developing possible solutions, and we're integrating into our healthcare system, which is great. But I just do wonder, about the long-term impact of this. You mentioned there that lady of the paranoia. I just don't know if we should go down that road.
I think like anything, there will be a curve where we get excited and maybe mildly obsessed, and then we'll figure out what works and what doesn't, and we'll start ignoring the things that don't matter, and then the things that do matter will kind of break through. I mean, I do know somebody wearing an Apple Watch, and the early EKG feature helped him identify a problem he was having. And so it's real. It can really help you. There's also concern with doctors about overdiagnosis.
I'm concerned about my heart pattern right now.
Oh no, what is happening?
But you're right, there are concerns about whether this data is interpreted correctly and if it's accurate enough.
While you're doing that, we have some questions I'm going to throw to you guys if that's okay. So the first one is, what is the major selling point of the Apple Watch if it spends more time charging than on your wrist? Which is a great question.
It's a great question. Its design is very lovely. I do think that you're buying the brand to a certain extent. And there are aspects of this watch that you're not going to get from something like a Fitbit Versa. So if you want to see things like your family photos on your watch, you want to do independent calling, you can buy a version of this that doesn't require having a phone nearby. Same is true for the Android watch family. So when you buy it, you're getting a little bit more computing in the watch, if that's what you care about. And then there's the premium brand. It feels nice.
But is it unfair to have them almost in the same category? Because if one is a fitness tracker that can also do, like, give you your notifications, this is essentially the highest spec one is a computer on your wrist. It's like Knight Rider.
That would be amazing if I could get Kit on that.
Make that happen.
Right. I want the golden eye background. I want Kit in my voice.
It'd be great.
But you're right. It's like having it's like having a budget phone and a flagship phone, and we're like, well, flagship phone's better. I mean, of course it is, and it's by far the nicest to use, the Apple Watch. The Watch OS 5, I think we're on now, software, it's just the most intuitive. It uses the space really well. If anything, maybe it's a bit too complex. There's a lot to do. There's a lot going on. I just want to be able to tap on Spotify to go next because my song's terrible and see how many steps I've got. So maybe actually for me, a Versa would be better, or even just something that it looks like a normal watch, but also gives me the odd notification, because I don't want I don't want to necessarily do emails on my watch. I'd like something that gives me the odd notification, doesn't stand out necessarily. I'm a fairly reserved person. I don't want a massive bright screen on my hand when I'm out and about. So something for me at least, I would prefer a more traditional looking watch with slightly simpler uses rather than the all singing, all dancing.
You know what's funny? When I wore the original Apple Watch for a little while, and I will admit, I actually don't wear a smartwatch on a regular basis.
Same.
I will do it sometimes.
Why the hell are you guys here?
I know, right?
I will evaluate them and wear them, but the thing that I found the most charming when I spent a very long time wearing that first watch was that I could see the time. It was hilarious. I had not worn a watch at all for a long time, and all of a sudden thought, this is great, because I could tell what time
It'll
it is.
never catch on, that technology.
Maybe I should just go back to wearing a dumb watch.
Yeah.
The best thing about the smartwatch was the fact that you could tell the time.
Absolutely. That was a watch. That was the best part of it.
Amazing.
Okay.
This is some deep analysis we got going on.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're here at Web Summit for this conversation. In terms then of if you had to have one, and I know that your actual watch is on the table.
I was given that one. But
Yeah. So, but of these ones, I mean, from a day-to-day point of view, in terms of being bothered to charge it as often as it has to be charged, in terms of the functionality, in terms of value for money, where would your money go?
I think that my money would go with the Versa,
Mine
simply because it is the most valuable for the, what, $200 US dollars you would pay for it.
they've shamelessly ripped off the design of Apple, which,
Sure.
for good or for bad, like, it looks great.
Yeah.
And so you're getting that very, very similar premium design, half the price, much simpler, and that half a week battery life. I mean, every trip I go on, I have to bring my phone charger and then my little watch. This won't last more than a day.
Oh, really? Well, but that's the reason why I don't wear a wearable all the time, because I just didn't want to have an extra charging cable. In terms of pairing to the different devices, so obviously this is an Apple product and that's a Samsung product, so do they just work with those, or can they talk to the other phones?
Almost all of these can pair with both Apple and Android phones to different degrees. So I think you'll find that the Android Wear will work the best with Android phones. The Apple Watch will work the best
Sorry,
with
can we
an
just
iPhone.
Yeah,
do this?
just very
peel it.
enjoy
Do the
this.
peeling.
It's so
I want to
satisfying.
get the light on it. Oh,
Okay, let's see.
that's not.
I enjoyed it.
It's not making that. We don't have it mic'd. If we had it mic'd, you'd hear that really
Again, can you tell that we do this for a living, that we're like that intrigued with the plastic coming off a phone?
This is the 10s Max, I think?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, you can only use the Apple Watch. Which way round is this? The Apple Watch only works.
It only really
properly works with the iPhone.
Okay.
So that kind of narrows it down.
Yeah.
I mean, the Galaxy Watch isn't. I mean, you can do very limited functionality, but really, if you have an iPhone, it's kind of your best bet is the Apple Watch. But you can still use the Versa.
You can still wear the Versa, and the Versa will play Spotify playlists, which makes it even more charming.
Yeah.
So again, you're getting a lot for about half the price. And it just depends on what you use. If you're a person who really does text all the time on your watch, or you want to be able to do that, then by all means invest in a more expensive watch. But if that's not what you're going to use, and what you want to do is track fitness and then get some basic notifications, this guy is a great value. It's really bothering me also that I put the straps on backwards.
I just noticed that now.
It's backwards.
We're going to have to start this whole
I'm
thing
going to
again.
change this right now.
Bear with us. Yeah, no, I do think that the Fitbit, one that's not tied completely to one brand, I think it's interesting. I also like the interface of the Fitbit app. I think it's very user-friendly. I think it's very clean. I love that I can kind of customize what I see when. I don't have to be bombarded by all of the information. So if I don't want to see my heart rate, I don't have to have that on the home screen. Again, we were talking in the previous panel that stuff like that matters. The user interaction and how it feels in the hand, how it looks, that all really does inform people's choices.
I love those cliches, like it feels good in the hand.
I'm that person though.
I am as well.
It really does matter to me, and I think we're going to be talking a bit later on about the Google Pixel phone, which has a silky back. I think it's like a satin finish back or something. And when I held that in my hand, I was like, ooh, it does, this feels slippy to me.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
I'm scrolling through the meditation app called Breathe on the Apple Watch. Apple is really into this sort of mindfulness.
Yeah.
So it'll actually tell you to quiet your mind. I find this really obnoxious when I'm actually under pressure and freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate your thought, watch, but I don't have time to breathe right now.
What do you think?
Yeah, that happens to me with the Fitbit though. Like it says, like, get off your ass, fatty, and move. And you're like, I'm really busy. I can't do that right now. It's like they're bullying us into being better humans. Just to be angry about it.
What do you think about those super high-end watches where you got the Tag Heuers and the Rolexes that are also incorporating smartwatches in hyper-premium brands, so you can pay a couple of $1,000 for it? Aren't you kind of paying for that mechanical, hand-created, complication, beautiful craftsmanship, not just a LCD screen on a Tag Heuer watch?
But that's my fear, is that we're going to end up, it's going to become the norm just to like throw a bit of tech in and you can still pay those huge prices. Yeah. I don't know if you guys listen to the podcast S-Town, where they talk about, you know, building a clock and what goes into the like all the cogs and the really, really nerdy craftsmanship that goes into that. And now you can just stick a processor in it and be like, you're grand.
Well, and I think that sticking a processor into a very expensive watch might even be a little bit of a liability. It's something to break that is not easily fixed by somebody who really understands the inner workings of watches. Another interesting little fact about dumb watches,
feature watches,
is that the very high-end ones are a great shelter for cash. Apparently, people buy Rolexes because you can take them from country to country and they keep their value.
I've also heard that people, if they get sent to jail, they'll take their jewelry with them because they can't take cash, but they can sell their watch.
And I actually don't think that applies to smartwatches.
They don't have that intrinsic value, and also, like, people will buy a watch and often use it for 5-10 years, and it's like their watch or someone, it's handed down. There could be sentimentality to it. If your granddad dies and leaves you the Apple Watch Series 2, it's
Are you going to be able to set it up? Are you going to be able to unpair it from one Apple account into another Apple account and then move the library? It's going to be a total
Unlike
pain.
phones, they're updated every year or more regularly, so they lose their value and they lose their interest very quickly, and there's just not much staying power with any of these. I mean, that's just disgusting to look at.
You can totally see the value of it, though. If it does charge, if you don't have to charge it, part of me is wondering if the phone could do that, but it looked as ugly as that, would I use it?
It's not about looks.
It totally is
It's
about
what's
looks.
inside.
It is also about looks. I will say that despite all the skepticism about this one,
Yes.
because it's so expensive and it requires the charging every night, and great question that was asked on Twitter, I see them everywhere now.
Me too.
So
AirPods
something's
and Apple
working.
Watches. I know.
Something's working.
Yeah.
In the Bay Area specifically,
Well, they say it's the
every
highest
third person
selling watch of like any watch
ever.
But that's the power
I don't
of Apple.
know. It's no Casio calculator watch.
There's G watches.
I miss that.
In the previous panel, we were talking about the voice-activated speakers and voice-control technology. Are we going to, like, will I become that guy from Knight Rider? You know, are we going to see more voice-control technology? Or will we be able to do more and more without having to, you know, interact with anything else other than our wrists?
I think that what's going to happen in the long term is that you're going to start having technology, including watches, but also including smart speakers and everything else, that simply anticipate what you're going to do because the AI is so sophisticated.
Yeah.
So you will be able to control them with your voice, but really they'll know what you want before you do it, which is its own level of creepy, but also convenient.
Yeah.
So you might find that you need to do that actually less. Instead of saying start this, it'll be like, you're leaving the house at this time. Would you like me to start your workout?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's our overriding feeling then about these wearables? Are we, like, the fact that you and I don't wear one Monday to Friday, except
says a
when
lot.
we're getting paid,
Says a lot.
I mean, I just am not that pushed.
Should we do a quick show of hands who's wearing smartwatches right now?
Yeah, anyone, so throw up your hand if you're wearing a smartwatch or a wearable of any description.
I mean, that makes sense
that's
as
a
a
good bet.
smartwatch panel, I guess.
Yeah, but there's not as many as I thought.
It's not many.
Okay.
But we're here at a technology-focused conference, and we're still looking at 20, 25% of the audience.
Sort your game out.
And I think that until we completely get rid of phones, it'll always be an optional device.
Yeah, it's an extra. But I do like the Versa.
I do too.
Okay, so this is a nice way to round off that it's not always the most expensive, because people think I'm going to buy the best out there, thinking and assuming it's going to be the most expensive, but that's clearly not the case in this instance.
And
have
best includes
options.
battery life. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
Fab. Okay, well, there you have it. My thanks to our guests. I hope you got something from that. Again, if you want to keep your comments coming in, the Slido details are up on stage and we'll be hanging around for another few minutes. But for the moment, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.